You say, aha, but you're just choosing, a good example. What about something like the woman caught in adultery? Well, that's fine. Yeah, let's go look at that. So here we have not only Erasmus's edition from 1516, but we also have his own commentary on the New Testament. And this is what he says about John chapter 8. So hopefully you can see a little bit of Latin. From chapter 8 is where it says in line 4. Then we get, they brought to him, the scribes and Pharisees brought a woman. Then you can see that bracket, okay? You see that? Now, Historia. Can you see the word Historia there? Line 1 of the new section. The story of the woman adulteress, non habetur, is not held in plerisque Graecis exemplaribus, is not contained in the majority of Greek copies. And that was Erasmus 500 years ago. So this is the good news. Erasmus only has 2 Greek manuscripts he used to make his edition. He's got slightly more knowledge of other ones. He knows the majority don't have this text. There are no surprises. Over the last 500 years, people have discovered more and more manuscripts, and they haven't been discovering new passages like this one. Erasmus knew about the ending of Mark not being in his manuscript. It wasn't in manuscript number 1 that he used. It's called number 1 because he used it. So in other words, over the years, so much more knowledge has accumulated, and it's not that we've had lots more uncertainty accumulate about the text of the New Testament. In fact, we can have huge confidence in the text of the New Testament because we can say this: that brainiac 500 years ago, Erasmus, knew about the textual uncertainty about 77% of the verses which get verse numbers in things like the King James Version and are then doubted, questioned, or omitted in modern versions. In other words, if he had been just a little bit more attached to the Greek rather than the Vulgate, he would have been able to get there. Let me put it this way, because I'm speaking to Baptists, so I think I can get away with this. The Reformation was complete in the area of soteriology. Right? But one of the ideas behind being a Baptist is that you actually think that, and I'm sure some of you aren't Baptists, but most of you are, right? You actually think as Baptists that they weren't right on the subject of paedobaptism. So they weren't quite complete enough in their Reformation. So that's why you're Baptist, right? Now, the same issue could also apply in the area of text. 1517 is the Reformation, 1516, the eve of the Reformation. Erasmus comes out with a Greek text, which is good enough for the Reformation. Now, there's a problem about being good enough. You don't actually need to reform it, you see, because the Protestants are desperate to have common ground with their Catholics friends so they can actually dialogue. And so no one actually reforms it, but actually when you go through what Erasmus did, he often deferred to the Latin Vulgate in decisions. If he'd been following the Greek texts which he'd had, he would have been able to get incredibly close to what we now have in a whole series of modern editions, you see. So in other words, the amount of variety that there is in Greek texts is far less than there had been. So I'm, if you like, disputing a narrative that people often tell you, which goes like this: they had a wonderful text at the time of the Reformation, and then these awful people came along in the 19th century and started missing verses out. I don't think that's the way it really works.